In a moment, whom Russia considers friend and foe. First, this editorial caught my eye in today's Nezavisime Gazeta. It's a response to recent polling data from the state-owned Russian Public Opinion Research Centre. Among other things, it asked people if they agreed that Russians cannot do without domineering leaders, a strong hand that would direct their actions. 65% of respondents agreed, down from 80% in 2000. This drop of 15 percentage points, according to the sociologists, may indirectly indicate the weakening of collectivist and paternalistic beliefs, the rise of civic consciousness, and a readiness to take responsibility. Now, we need to be cautious about polling numbers published here right now, but it's not so much these findings and figures I want to focus on. It's this newspaper's reaction to them. Let's assume for a moment that Russian society really is overcoming paternalism, is ready for responsibility, and is becoming more conscious. The corridor of opportunity for such civic consciousness is now quite narrow, and it's unclear when and as a result of what it can expand. If these sociologists really did manage to record a new social aspiration, the current system can hardly satisfy that. Requests to somehow change the system itself are dangerous, given the punitive lurch of Russian legislation in recent years. In other words, it's one thing for society to talk itself up and say how good it's become, but it won't be easy to find a solution, a practical use. The fact is that the aspiration for a strong hand in 2000 was fully satisfied. The state and political system was gradually rebuilt in full accordance with the attitude with which, judging by the survey, 80% of respondents agreed at that time. The point of this transformation is that it sets not a temporary, but a long-term, long-lasting model of relations between the authorities and society. Under this model, politicians who find themselves in power get used to having more and more powers and a smaller and smaller field of opponents. They have no external incentive to change. Now, society may no longer feel the urgent need for a strong hand, but this hand, the projection of previous desires, already exists and continues to direct the actions of Russians. In other words, whether you like it or not now, you got the kind of system you wanted, and this authoritarian system isn't about to change, to morph into something less authoritarian. A strong hand isn't suddenly going to give up its strength. And to suggest such a thing is dangerous in the current circumstances. You can't really call this a critical editorial, criticism of the authorities. And yet these references to the punitive lurch of Russian legislation and to those in power getting used to having more and more powers, it's certainly a reflection of what is happening inside Russia. The other thing we see today in the papers here is whom today's Russia considers friend and foe. North Korea is definitely a friend. Several of the papers report on North Korean troops who've been helping Russia's war on Ukraine. These soldiers reportedly involved in demining operations in Russia's Kursk region. Komsomolskaya Pravda quotes the regional governor as saying, "We are deeply grateful to the fraternal people of North Korea." Very different language in the army paper, Krasnaya Zvezda, Red Star, when it comes to Britain. A foreign policy researcher tells the paper, "I believe that the UK, which since the end of the 18th century has treated Russia as an enemy and tried many times to deal us a crushing defeat, is again getting allies together for a direct confrontation with our country. The geopolitical ambitions of the British elite, its hostility towards Russia, is pushing it to grow its military potential, allowing London to claim the role of chief organiser of the military campaign to the east." As so often, Russia styling itself as a besieged fortress under threat from, under attack from, alleged enemies in the West. This is the same Russia that invaded its neighbour, Ukraine, nearly 4 years ago.